Good evening and welcome to this digitally enabled online meeting of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth, held on Monday, October 25th, 2021. I'm Mayor Todd Kasenberg and I'll call this meeting to order. I ask the Deputy Clerk to note our starting time for the minutes at 7 p.m. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe peoples. We wish to recognize the long history of Indigenous peoples in Canada and show our respect to them today. We recognize their stewardship of the land. May we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship. Tonight's meeting is being streamed live on the Municipality of North Perth YouTube channel. Oh, I'll get that out yet. And will be available there after the meeting as an archived video. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and or the clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction may only be given in exceptional circumstances when deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Thank you. Welcome to those who are joining us via the YouTube channel. Welcome to councillors, staff, and delegations as here who will participate in this meeting. At this time, I invite your decorum over the course of the meeting. I advise that I have attendance regrets tonight from Councillor Matt Richardson. Let us move to item 2.1 of our agenda pertaining to pecuniary interest. For the benefit of those unfamiliar with our council practices, provincial legislation requires councillors with a potential pecuniary or financial interest in any item at the council table to declare this interest and to remove her or himself from discussions and voting on the item. In accordance with recommended protocol, at this time I invite all councillors with pecuniary interests, including those who have already declared in writing, to verbally advise the chair in public session and to submit documentation to this effect in writing on the prescribed paperwork to the clerk. Councillors are further reminded that should a potential conflict of interest arise during the meeting, they may so declare and act at any point in the meeting. Ahead of this meeting, I was advised that Councillor Johnston wishes to make such a declaration. Welcome, Councillor Johnston. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I'd like to declare a conflict on item 5.2.1, the drainage reapportionment, as I'm an officer of a corporation that owns land along the Burnett and the Coleman Drain, and I'll also declare a conflict then on 13.1. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. Are there any other councillors wishing to make a declaration tonight? Seeing none, we're going to move forward. To explain our virtual processes, I'm going to be systematically trying to seek consent from various councillors as movers and seconders of the various resolutions and bylaws that will be put before us tonight. I'll do this to some degree alphabetically. Should a councillor not wish to respond to the request, they may say so, and I will move to the next name on the alphabetical list. Regarding speaking to our business, councillors tonight will identify themselves to our conferencing technologies chat function. The clerk is assisting me tonight in maintaining the speaking order from that source. Councillors are allowed on their turn to deliver a primary question or comment and may make one supplemental without intervention from me. We will follow speaking order carefully, and any councillor wishing to have a second say after their first and supplemental will have to indicate again and go to the bottom of the speaking list. This is a normal process consistent with Robert's Rules of Order. Councillors are reminded that if I believe you're not audible, I'll call on you to let you know that. Councillors are further asked to maintain a mute state in the web conference until I have called upon you for a verbal reaction. Should any of your votes not show up in eScribe, our voting technology, I will call on you when things seem stalled to register a manual vote. At that time, take yourself off mute, answer yes or no on the motion, then return to mute. And I have noted over time that sometimes eScribe kicks some of us out. So if that's the case, please reload the software, and often that will resolve the challenge. Let's turn then to item 2.2 on our agenda, which is a motion for the adoption of the agenda for tonight's meeting. It reads simply as follows: that the agenda for tonight's meeting be approved. Why don't we start tonight with Councillor Rothwell? Will you serve as our mover for that one?
Yes, I will so move.
Thank you. Councillor Seiler, welcome. Will you serve as our seconder for that?
Yes, I will second that. Thank you.
All right. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Let us move forward then to item 3 on our agenda, the so-called consent agenda. These items are placed on our agenda because they are believed to be non-contentious, yet they require council's recognition and or action. Grouping them expedites our business. However, any councillor wishing to extract an item from the consent agenda for discussion, debate, and individual action may do so. There are 4 items on our consent agenda tonight, including the minutes of our last regular council meeting. Councillors, do any of you have a desire to extract any of these items for further discussion or action? We're not seeking of that, so I have a motion for our consideration as follows: that consent items 3.1 to 3.4 be received for information and the minutes of the October 18th, 2021 regular council meeting be adopted. Councillor Andreessen, will you serve as our mover for that?
Yes, I'll make that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Anstett, will you be our seconder?
Yes, I would second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to both of you. Any discussion or debate? Let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much. That allows us to move to agenda item number 4. This evening, we do have the opportunity to conduct a public meeting related to land planning matters. To facilitate the public meeting, we must temporarily adjourn from our regular council meeting. I have before me a motion to make that happen that reads as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth adjourns at 7:08 p.m. for the purpose of public meetings under the Planning Act concerning the following: an application for a zoning bylaw amendment by 2244278 Ontario, Inc. Councillor Behrens, can I call on you to be our mover tonight for this one?
Yes, I will make that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Duncan, will you serve as our seconder?
I certainly will second that.
Thank you. And again, welcome to both of you as well. Any discussion or debate on this matter? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Council, we are temporarily adjourned. My next duty then is to indicate that this is now a public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act for a proposed amendment to the North Perth zoning bylaw. I welcome all those who are in attendance, including any who've decided to participate. At this point, this is a statutory public meeting pursuant to the Ontario Planning Act to deal with an application for an amendment to the North Perth zoning bylaw submitted by O'Malley Homes Waterloo Inc. on behalf of 2244278 Ontario Inc. Correspondence, reports, and comments received regarding this application will be considered by council. Those in attendance remotely wishing to make comment concerning this application will be given an opportunity to do so. Anyone wishing to appeal council's decision must make verbal submission during this public meeting or have made a written submission already to council. Those who want to receive notice of the municipality's decision concerning this application must notify the clerk by email or telephone, giving their mailing address and telephone number. At this time, I'm going to call for a summary of this application for an amendment, and I will call on Mr. Sean Yilmaz, who is a Perth County planner dedicated to North Perth files, to bring us up to speed on this. Mr. Yilmaz, welcome.
Thank you. And good evening, Mayor Kasenberg, members of North Perth Council. The application for a zoning bylaw amendment has been has been submitted by O'Malley Homes on behalf of the property owner to increase the permitted lot coverage on the lands within the Phase 3 portion of the Emerald Green subdivision, which I believe we are all familiar with. These lands are located to the southeast of the Listowel Golf Club. The lands are within the Residential 1 zone, which exclusively permits single detached dwellings. However, the North Perth zoning bylaw normally permits up to 40% lot coverage for lands within the R1 zone, and the applicant is requesting a 50% lot coverage maximum, Lot coverage means the percentage of a lot upon which buildings are erected. So if a lot is permitted 50% lot coverage, half of the property could potentially accommodate buildings or structures. If approved, all other provisions of the R1 zone will still apply. The subject property is within the residential designation of the Listowel Ward official plan and within the Residential 1 zone of the North Perth zoning bylaw. The request to increase the permitted lot coverage to 50% has been noted by the applicant to provide flexibility with the development and to allow for increased outdoor living space. Staff have no concerns with the proposed amendment. Lot coverage requirements ensure consistent development within the neighborhood and contribute to achieving more permeable spaces and natural landscaped or green surfaces. Much of the lands within the first phase of the development are within the Residential 2 zone and the Residential 3 zone, which permits 45% and 50% lot coverage maximum respectively. So the increased lot coverage will maintain the general character of the draft approved plan of subdivision. As such, it is staff's recommendation that council approve the zoning bylaw amendment application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yilmaz. Just if I could check with you about the notice of public meeting details.
Yeah, so a sign was posted at the edge of the subject lands, as well as it was sent out to all property owners within a 120-meter radius of the subject property, as well as the notice was posted on the North Perth website, which provided details about tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Next up then, we turn our attention to correspondence, comments, and reports received to date. I believe we turn to the clerk for this one. So let me just adjust my audio settings. Not you this time? No correspondence. The clerk is advising no correspondence, not telling me not to direct to her. It's just she's advising it's straightforward. Okay, thank you very much for that. And no reports as well, I assume, that are interfering with this. Okay, that brings us to the opportunity for public input. If there are those in attendance at this meeting who are in support of the application other than the applicant, this is your opportunity to present to this council in public meeting. The clerk is indicating that we've received no advance notice of this, so we do not believe that anyone online is with us for that purpose. Next, there's the opportunity for those who are opposed to the application to present to this council. Again, the clerk is indicating that we did not receive any pre-notice requests, and therefore we do not believe that anyone is in attendance for that purpose. And the third opportunity then in the public meeting is to turn to the applicant or the applicant's agent should they wish to address this council. We do believe that a representative of the applicant is with us. It is your prerogative at this point if you wish to address council.
Sure. Thanks for giving me the time just to address it. Sean summarized most of our reasoning for the application in the report there. A lot of the main reason what we applied for this is in developing plans. A lot of it was with building outdoor decks, and a lot of these lots being walkout or daylight basements, causing us to build these decks over the 2 or 4 feet, then making a part of the structure and affecting the percentage, putting us over the sort of standard 40% in that zoning bylaw. And that is just the primary reason for the application. And I don't really have anything else to add or can answer any other questions from anybody, but that's about it for me.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley, for joining us and presenting that overview. Council, are there any questions from you at this point of any of the stakeholders in this process? Clerk Barfelds, are we seeing any indication of questions? We're not at this point. So I'm going to call that question comment period closed. And at this point in time, I'll offer what happens next. A notice of a decision by council will be given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. The council's decision is subject to appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. And with that, we bring to a close our public meeting, but for a resolution. We need a resolution to take care of that. So that is in my hands here. It reads that the public meetings for the purpose of Planning Act applications is now adjourned at 7:16 p.m. and that council reconvene into regular open council. Deputy Mayor Kellum, can I call on you to serve as our mover for that one?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And Councillor Johnston, will you serve as our seconder for that?
Yes, I would second that.
And I know I welcomed you already, Dave. Welcome, Deputy Mayor. Any discussion or debate on this? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried in a kind of dramatic way for e-scribe there, which means at this point that we have returned to our regular council meeting. Council, pursuant to this matter, we have two items of action that are proposed for our consideration. The first is a resolution that reads as follows. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approve the application for a zoning bylaw amendment affecting property described as park lot 26 and 27 concession 1 in the Listowel ward, Municipality of North Perth, identified as phase 3 or lots 39 to 78 of draft approved plan of subdivision 31T 92002. The proposal is consistent with the provincial policy statement 2020, conforms to the policies of the County of Perth official plan and Listowel ward official plan, and meets the intent of the North Perth zoning bylaw. Can I call on Councillor Rothwell to be a mover for that?
Yes, I so move.
Thank you. Councillor Seiler, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I will second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate on this matter? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And we're missing one. Councillor Rothwell, what say you? We're not seeing your vote. Councillor Rothwell, are you with us? One last call for Councillor Rothwell. We haven't received your vote. Can you hear us? Okay, so we believe Councillor Rothwell is having technology connection issues. I think we'll need to declare him absent for this vote, and we'll call it carried at this point. Next up then is the associated bylaw amendment. So let me read that into the record, that bylaw number 98-2021, being a bylaw to amend the North Perth zoning bylaw number 6-ZB-1999 as amended, be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed, and the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Can I call on Councillor Andreessen to be our mover for this one?
I'll make that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Anstett, will you serve as seconder?
Yes, I would second that motion. Thank you.
Thanks. Any discussion or debate? We're not seeing indication of that, so let's have that vote. And is Councillor Rothwell with us or is he still absent? Can we just check on that? Councillor Rothwell, can you hear my voice? Okay, so we're not seeing evidence of Councillor Rothwell, so we'll call this carried with him noted absent. There are moments where it feels like a seance, you know that you're sort of calling out for folks in the ether. All right. Thank you. That moves us past that. And Mr. O'Malley, thank you for having joined us tonight, and we wish you well with the continuation of your project.
Thanks very much.
Let's move forward then to item 5 on our agenda. Reports from departments and key staff. For item 5.1.1, Council is receiving a report from CAO Chris Snell regarding contractual agreements with the City of Stratford for extension of our agreement until 2025 for the inter-county transit system portion of PC Connect. Well, that was a mouthful. I hope Mr. Snell can simplify all of that for us in the next few minutes. So I'll call on Mr. Snell to present and explain and answer any questions about this report. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. As the Mayor suggested, we do have an opportunity to proceed with the extension of the inter-community transit service through PC Connect, which is, in our case, the bus route from Listowel to Kitchener. As Council is aware, the province did announce an extension of PC fund or the transit funding for PC Connect until March 31st, 2025. The difference between the county portion and the City of Stratford portion is the continuation of the City of Stratford portion, which would be our route from Kitchener to Listowel, will require some investment from the local municipalities. Sort of the first news to go along with this is the province has simultaneously also announced GO train services from London to St. Mary's and Stratford. Although I don't see this as having a huge direct impact on North Perth residents, I think any opportunity where we see an expansion of vital and connected transit systems into Southwest Ontario is overall a good step for our region. The biggest thing I'd like to draw your attention to next is just the ridership on our route. Certainly, previously through the pandemic, it showed very low ridership. However, in the month of September, we did see some encouraging signs with ridership almost doubling its highest again. So we had 91 rides in the month of September, and hopefully we'll see an increase like this as we continue with the easing of the pandemic in the future. So the City of Stratford, with the announcement, did have several follow-up meetings with the Ministry of Transportation to look at how they arrived at the funding allocations for the extensions. Like I said, the PC Connect County portion did receive almost enough money to fund the project without a local investment. However, our project with the City of Stratford will require some local investment if we want to continue. So certainly the next pages 4, 5, and 6, or 4 and 5 are the budget laid out by the City of Stratford staff. Most importantly, the last column on page 5 is what the lower tier contributions will be, or the partners' contributions would be, including Stratford, North Perth, and St. Mary's, to extend the program to 2025. The important note in this does not include any revenue from ridership, so this is a worst case scenario. As staff, we felt that was most important to provide to the councils. So any ridership revenue will be deducted from this shortfall. So basically at this time, this report did go to the City of Stratford today for their approval. But I'd certainly like to thank the City of Stratford staff, Stephanie and Mike, for helping put this report together. And at this time, really asking councils to support the extension with the city of Stratford to offering this community transit through 2025. And certainly at that time, we'll have a better feel running this route without hopefully the effects of the pandemic in place. So certainly I can try to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you, CAO Snell. Council questions or comments? We're not seeing any. So let's turn to a resolution that we have coming from this report. The resolution reads as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth support an extension of the local partnership agreement with the City of Stratford to continue offering community transportation through PC Connect until March 2025. Can I call on Councillor Behrens to be our mover for that one?
Yes, Your Worship, I would make that motion, but I do have a question. My internet is a little sketchy here. Just to Chris. So it's Stratford, North Perth, and St. Mary's. Where is the county amount in this, or does the county not pay for this? I'm just a little bit confused between the inter and the intra, and just a little bit of clarification. Thanks.
Mr. Snell?
Certainly, thank you for the question, Councilor Behrens. So, and because of the length of the time this project has gone on, it certainly, and it was confusing from the start in many ways too. So the county's portion is really the buses that run within the county. And so all the partners in that, including St. Mary's and Stratford, are partners in that. But because of the grant funding, the way it's set up so far, there's been no required investment by any of the partners. The intra or inter-county, which actually connects us to the other regions and transit hubs, being London and Kitchener, it was a separate project done by the city of Stratford, and the only partners that contributed at that time, just due to mostly being to our advantage, was North Perth, St. Mary's, and the city itself. I hope that clarified.
Thanks, Councillor Behrens. So you're still good with being our mover on this one, just to clarify?
Yes, I will make that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan, will you serve as our seconder for this one?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you. Yes, there's a cost to transit, and sooner or later, North Perth ratepayers may have to absorb some of that, face some of that. But that's also a consequence, I think, of us as a growing community. So I find myself supportive, at least in principle, at this point. Any further discussion or debate on this one? All right, we're not seeing any, so let's have that vote.
Councillor Anstett, I have to restart e-scribe. I'm in favor.
Thank you, Councillor Anstett. And Councillor Rothwell is still absent, I assume. So we will call that carried, noting Councillor Rothwell's absence. Thank you. Next up then is a invitation to council to authorize endorsement for the corporation of an agreement with Ontario related to a successful grant application for municipal modernization funds. Again, I'm going to call on Mr. Snell to give us a brief overview of this one. CAO Snell.
Thank you again. So this is really just the authorizing bylaw for us to sign the agreement with this province of Ontario for the Municipal Modernization Program Intake 2, which was our award for the paperless software solutions. So the RFP for the potential software solution is out and will be closing on November 5th. So this really is just the technical paperwork for the province to transfer us their 65% of the funds. Certainly can answer any questions council may have.
Thank you, Mr. Snell. Any questions or first comments about this one from council? We're not seeing any indication of that. So this is a bylaw resolution, council. The full text of the bylaw, I think, is in your package, but essentially this is the enabler here, that bylaw number 112-2021 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and chief administrative officer to sign an agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing for the province of Ontario will be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be passed, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk. Can I call on Deputy Mayor Kellum to be our mover for that?
Yes, I will make that motion.
Thank you. And Councillor Johnston, will you be our seconder?
Yes, I would second that.
Thank you very much. Any discussion or debate? Seeing no indication of that, let's have that vote. And that is carried, again, noting Councillor Rothwell's absence. I believe that technical support is working on his challenge, his connection challenge at this point, Council, for your information. All right. Next up, thank you. That I think I said that was carried. I hope so. Next up is 5.2, reports from the Clerk's Department. For item 5.2.1, Council is asked to authorize the signing by the clerk of a series of agreements of drainage reapportionment associated with what has been really a very busy drain schedule, right? I think I'm going to call on Clerk Bearfeld. Does she want to make any comments? Do you want to, or? Okay, just let me set it up for you. So Clerk Bearfeld will make a few comments. Just hang on.
I believe that Mayor Kasenberg has pretty much covered the reasoning and the purpose of the report. As stated, there has been 4 applications for consent and it has affected 6 municipal drains. Tonight's report is in regards to moving forward with those reapportionments under Section 65 of the Drainage Act. And if Council agrees and authorizes the signing, we'll move forward with the process.
Thanks, Clerk Bearfeld. At this time, any questions or first comments on this matter? Okay, we're not seeing any, so let's move to the resolution. The resolution reads as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth authorizes the clerk to sign the agreements of drainage reapportionment affecting the following municipal drains: Hillpert Municipal Drain Wallace, File B1021, Hillpert Branch B Municipal Drain Wallace, File B10-21, Hillpert Branch C Municipal Drain Wallace, File B10-21, Burnett Municipal Drain Elma, File B63-20, Burnett Municipal Drain Elma, File B21-21, and Coleman Municipal Drain Elma, File B20-21. Can I call on Councillor Seiler to be our mover for this one?
I shall move. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Andreessen, will you serve as our seconder?
So I'll second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate on this one? We're not seeing any, so let's have that vote. And I believe that's everybody, given the abstentions and absences. So that is carried. Thank you very much. Let's move forward next then to item 5.2.2. In this matter, Council is invited to approve a new projecting sign at a Moncton business. It's rather a case of grandfathering from my read of the documentation. I think North Perth Chief Building Official Ed Podnowitz is with us for general comments. Welcome, Mr. Podnowitz.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg and members of council. Before you, on your agenda, you have a report that I've generated based on a request from the owner of T&J Variety, located at 205 Winstanley Street, in Moncton. So currently he's undergoing a facade improvement under the municipality's facade improvement program, and he requires a building permit for the new sign, which is included in the facade improvement. The sign, when we looked at it, basically doesn't meet the sign bylaw in two areas, our current sign bylaw, and that is in the projection. He is deficient there, so he needs 0.83 meters relief, 2.9 feet, and he's also deficient on the area. So there's a maximum area requirement of 1 square meter, 10.8 square feet, and the sign that he's posing is 1.5 square meters, 16.15 square feet, an increase of 0.5 square meters or 5.35 square feet. So as you can see in the report, the two areas that he doesn't comply with, basically this existing sign that is there doesn't comply with those same two areas. So he's in a nutshell, he's basically putting up the same size of sign and projecting out just as far as the existing signs there that is currently there, as you can see in the pictures. And based on that, the building department's view is that the proposed new sign, projecting sign request is not significantly different from the existing projecting sign, and we based our recommendation on that, and we're recommending approval. I'm glad to answer any questions from council.
Thanks, Mr. Podnowitz. Council, questions or first comments on this matter? We're not seeing any, so I have a resolution for consideration. The Council of the Municipality of North Perth approved the replacement of a projecting sign with a maximum projection of 1.83 meters or 6 feet and a maximum sign area of 1.5 meters or 16.15 square feet at property located at 205 Winstanley Street, Moncton, in the municipality of North Perth. Can I call on Councillor Anstett to be our mover for that?
Yes, I would move that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Behrens, will you serve as seconder?
Yes, I will second that motion. Thank you.
Thanks. Any discussion or debate about this one? Seeing none, let's have that vote. So we believe that Councillor Rothwell remains absent, and we will declare this carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Podnowitz.
Thank you.
Let's turn forward now then to item 5.3, reports from the Programs Department. We have no reports coming from that department this evening. Similarly, we have no reports from the Facilities Department as item 5.4. Both, of course, are working diligently on behalf of our community. Let us move forward then to the item 5.5 on our agenda, which is reports from our Finance Department. As item 5.5.1, let me just check on that. My memory is weird in my own notes. Yes, as item 5.5.1, Council is invited to scrutinize and review for further information, a report on our current year operational budget as of the end of the third quarter of our budget. I will ask Fran Hale, Becky is here, wonderful. I will ask Becky Belfour, who's our Deputy Treasurer and Asset Management Specialist, to comment on this briefly for Council's benefit. Welcome, Becky.
Good evening, Mayor Kaysenberg and Council. So before you, you have the operating budget quarterly report for September the 30th. We're currently at 75% of our operating budget for the end of the third quarter. And actual expenses have reached around 50% of the estimates. North Perth is seemingly on track given the COVID impact, and you'll see most department heads have made comments as to any anomalies or things that have arisen over this last quarter. At this time, if you have any questions, I'd entertain being able to answer those for you for the operating budget.
Thank you, Ms. Belfour. Council, questions or first comments on this matter? Are we seeing anything, Clerk Bearfelds? No. Okay, I think that's probably a good news story, right? That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth received for information the 2021 operating budget comparisons for September 30th, 2021. Can I call on Councillor Duncan to be our mover for that?
Yes, I'll move that.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Kellum, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I will second that motion. Thank you.
Thanks. Any discussion or debate? Right, we're not seeing any indication of that, so let's have that vote. And that is carried. Let us move then to item 5.5.2. Council is invited to scrutinize and review for information a report on the projects or capital budget for the municipality as of the end of third quarter. Again, Ms. Belfour, welcome.
So once again, you have in front of you the project budget comparison report for the third quarter with 63.6% of the project budget remaining. Note that there are quite a few projects that are finalized. We haven't received all invoices for those projects at this time of the September 30th quarterly report. So come the next month or so, we should be receiving more invoices for some of those projects that are completed. As noted in the budget survey, there was a request for quarterly reports to be posted. I know these are public documents currently, so we will post them on the budget page of the website for the moving forward for the quarterly reports, just so that the public can see them better just by going through the budgets section of our website. So if you have any questions at this time, I would entertain answering those for you.
Thank you, Ms. Belfour. Council, questions or first comments on this report? Councillor Andreessen.
I thank you through you, Mayor Kasenberg. Hi, Becky. Just have a couple questions here. Just around the yellow highlighting. Does that mean that things are on track if it's yellow highlighted, or just wondering about the significance of that? I'm just curious. If you can just explain that a little bit further. Thank you.
So I just highlighted those. Those are the projects at the beginning of the year that were new projects rather than carryover projects. So just so that they stood out a little bit more for council to see.
Through you, Mayor Kasenberg, can I ask an additional question?
By all means.
Are there any significant projects do we feel will not be able to be pursued? I see a few of them have like council dashboard has no notes on it. Organizational review has no notes on it. Just wondered if those will be unable to proceed. Thank you.
Ms. Belfour first, and then if we need CEO Snell.
So yeah, I'll let Chris speak to the council dashboard and the organizational overview, the development charges update. I know that Fran is looking into it. I'm not sure that it will be started before the end of the year. I have my doubts that it will, just as to where we're at. Then we have a few other ones that have notes. The wastewater treatment plant roof repair is going to be done. Infrastructure upgrade, that one, no notes on that. I'm without Lyndon here. I don't want to hazard a guess on that one. He didn't indicate there, so I'm not too sure. I think the rest have notes. So Chris, maybe you just like to indicate dashboard or an organizational review, what your thoughts are for year end.
Thank you. Certainly, with regard to council dashboard, we are working with some of our new software implementations, being the budget software and the MMS software, as well as GIS, to make it so that we can pull data without a lot of resources that will compile our dashboard. So we may not see anything by the end of 2021, but certainly I think early 2022 we'll have some software solutions that will allow us to create a dashboard. And the organizational review, I think council will see that within the next month at a special council meeting. So that project is certainly underway. Just there's been nothing as far as invoices received to date.
Thanks, Mr. Snell. And I do want council to know, and Chris will have to nod his head gently. Yes, I nag him about the council dashboard pretty often. So that's a project is near and dear to me, certainly, so that we have a better information system. Any other questions or comments? All right, I have a resolution before me for consideration. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth received the 2021 Project Budget Comparison Report third quarter as presented for information. Can I call on Councillor Johnston to be our mover for this one?
Yes, I would move that.
Thank you. And Councillor Seiler, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate? I'm not seeing any, so let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. And Ms. Belfour, thank you. Pleasant to have you with us tonight. And thank you for the reports.
Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Let's move on then to item 5.6. We have no reports from Environmental Services Department. We know that they do important work in the community and are always on guard, if you will. And item 5.7, our manager of operations is absent tonight because there are no reports from the operations department. So they continue to do good work and are gearing up, obviously, for winter operations. I hate to say that, but actually, I really do. We also have no report from the fire department this meeting. So that brings us to item 6 on our agenda. For item 6.1, councillors, are there any reports you would like to ask of staff or of our committees? Again, the usual process applies to raising the attention of the chair for a turn. And good to know that Councillor Rothwell's technology problems have been resolved. Welcome back, Councillor Rothwell. Okay, we're not seeing any indication under item 6. Let's move to item 7. We have received no additional items of correspondence which require our action. At this time, that brings us to item 8, which allows council to consider a few bylaws. We do have a few proposals tonight. As item 8.1, council is invited to authorize a temporary second dwelling agreement on an agricultural property in Wallace Ward. Are there any questions by council about this matter for the clerk before we proceed to the reading? I'm not seeing any indication of questions, so let's consider it then. The resolution reads as follows: that bylaw number 111-2021, being a bylaw to authorize the signing of a conditional second dwelling agreement with Janlower Farms, be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed, and the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. And I call on Councillor Rothwell, who's back with us, to be our mover on this one.
I so move.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Andreessen, will you serve as our seconder?
So I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate about this bylaw? Seeing none, let's have that vote.
I'm in favor, Mayor Todd. I'm not on e-scribe just yet.
Okay, thank you. So with Councillor Rothwell's vote, that makes that unanimous, and that is carried. Let's move to item 8.2. This one is about enacting a bylaw to appoint a new community emergency management coordinator. It's housekeeping. He's been on the job for a little while. Mr. Dave Clark works for the county of Perth, but also serves the lower tier municipalities that have joined in an arrangement with the county. Are there any questions about this matter before we consider this bylaw? All right, let's read it into the record then, that bylaw number 113-2021, being a bylaw to appoint a community emergency management coordinator, or CEMC, be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed, and said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Anstett, will you serve as our mover for that? Councillor Anstett? Okay, Councillor Anstett's on mute going to this. Councillor Anstett, will you serve as our mover? Okay, we have temporarily lost connection with him, perhaps. Councillor Behrens, will you serve as our mover for this one?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Councillor Duncan, will you serve as our seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Any discussion or debate on this one? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Yeah, we're still waiting on Councillor Anstett.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Councillor Ansett here. I'm having some technological issues. I'm in favor. Sorry, my e-scribe and computer
Thank
just
you.
shut off, so.
Thank you. So we've had, that's 9-0. That is carried. Yeah, we're having a little bit of a technology night. Thank you, Council, for your patience with that. That brings us to item 9 on our agenda. Are there any councillors wishing leave to give notice of motion tonight? We're not seeing evidence of that, so let's move to item 10 on our agenda. For item 10.1, are there any announcements that we can give to our community or that reflect well on North Perth at this time? Again, if you'd like to speak, and this invitation is open to staff as well, we invite you to indicate in the chat window and we'll call in the appropriate order. Let's begin with Councillor Johnston.
Just a quick public service announcement. I'm just asking the public to please be patient and respectful of farm equipment. It's been a terrible wet fall, as you can tell by the day out here today. And in order to get any crop off, farmers are working all times of the day and night. So they're just asking for respect of the large farm equipment on the roads, and it could be there at all times of the day and night.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. Well said. Do we have any others wishing to make an announcement? We're not seeing any other indication. So please, yes, let's be mindful. This is the really crunch season for our farming community. All right, that allows us to move on to agenda item number 11. We have 2 matters tonight to be considered in a closed session meeting with council. I will now read the resolution that explains and enables our action to enter this closed session meeting. Oh, of course. We'll follow that up after this, if that's all. Oh, maybe we should. Yeah. Okay, Council, there's been a breaking news point that the mayor lost sight of, unfortunately. Clerk Berfelds has reminded me. So before we consider item 11, it is incumbent on me, and I apologize for missing it myself, to note that this is Danette Beer's last council meeting as our deputy clerk. She is retiring at the end of October, and we are profoundly grateful. I'm sure that councillors over the years of this council are also profoundly grateful for the services that Ms. Beer has presented to us. I know that she was thrown at me very quickly, actually, after I assumed the chair, and she was amazing to help me out, and has done so much, so diligently for so many years. Before we turn to item 11, I would certainly welcome any other councillor who would wish to pay respects to her at this point to take the floor. Perhaps Councillor Barnes, would you like to take the floor and offer any comment here?
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. I'd just like to extend my appreciation to Danette. As many of you know, she came from the township of Wallace and had worked there for a short time before coming to Municipal. It has truly been a pleasure as a councillor and deputy mayor and mayor to work with Danette. Very knowledgeable, and her presence will truly be missed. And we wish her all the best, healthy and happy retirement, and enjoy all those grandbabies. And well done, Danette.
Thank you, Councillor Barnes. Councillor Andreessen, I see you have some comments. Did you wish the floor briefly?
Sure, thank you. I just want to extend my congratulations to Danette as well. Danette is really behind the scenes, has done a tremendous job with a lot of the systems that not everyone really recognizes, like our voting system. Danette makes sure that those votes are coming up and they come up just like magic. And Danette is the magic behind a lot of this work. And I know I really appreciate that as a counselor. And certainly as a recent retiree myself, I wish Danette a wonderful next chapter in her life with her family. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Andreessen. Any other councillors wishing at this time to make special notes into our record? Okay, I won't hold people to it, but Danette, it's a big hug from council and absolute best wishes as life unfolds. The best years are yet to come. And we trust that you'll stay in touch with us and let us know how things are going as we move forward. But certainly those moments of both you know, joy for you in terms of the choice and opportunities that lie ahead, but a little bit of sorrow for us because we're certainly going to miss you. All right, let me turn to item 11 on our agenda again. We'll get there. Thank you, Clerk Berfels, for reminding me. We have a resolution to proceed in camera at this time. It reads as follows: that the committee proceed in camera at 7:58 p.m. To address matters pertaining to one, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees regarding North Perth municipal staff, and two, a proposed or pending acquisition sale of land for municipal or local board purpose regarding municipal properties described as Plan 148, Lot 58, Art Lots 15, 51, and 59 as RP 44R 3089, Part 1, and Plan 148, Part Lot 15 and 51, Listowel Ward. Can I call on Deputy Mayor Kellum to be our mover for this one?
Yes, I will make that motion. Thanks. Thank
you, and I'll circle back to Councillor Anstett. Will you be our seconder for that?
Yes, I would second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any discussion or debate about this resolution to go in camera? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Council, at this point, we will adjourn from open session. We're going to closed session. Anyone who's not been invited to remain for the closed session meeting should exit the call at this point in time. Council, there will be a brief break while we reconfigure the audio visuals so that we're not transmitting our in-camera session as per our understanding of things. So please hold for about 3 minutes. I'm going to invite someone to check our YouTube feed to see if we are restored or not. Could someone have a look in on YouTube for me? Councillor Anstedt, you have the capability of pulling up YouTube for me and just seeing whether we're there or not?
Yep, just 1 second here.
Thanks.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, you were hearing some audio, Neil, were you?
I can hear you speaking, yes.
Okay, perfect. Then we're back. Very good. Thank you very much. All right. So at this point in time, we turn to agenda item number 12. And tonight we do have a rise and report intent as a council. At this point, I'm pleased to advise that in rising and reporting, council has approved the addition of 1 full-time equivalent position to its organization chart, and the duties specifically and the title of this role is GIS technician. All right, now I believe we can move on to our next item on our agenda, which is item number 13. What do we need, a mover and seconder? Okay, the clerk is giving me some procedural advice. Thank you. So for that purpose, then we need a mover and seconder for that announcement and the council's indication of this change. Can I call on Councillor Duncan to be our mover for this?
So moved.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Callum, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I'll second that motion. Thank you.
Thanks. I don't believe, are we still using eScribe at this point? No, we're not. Okay, so at this point then, because we've lost our electronic voting capacity, we'll move to the question then, are there any opposed? And we're registering 1 opposed, I believe. Thank you, Councillor Rothwell, is 1 opposed, so the vote carries with a 8-1 voting record. 8 yes, 1 no. Thank you. Let's move then to item 13 on our agenda. Council, as a mandated good practice, acts near the end of its meeting agenda to confirm all of its actions and business through the meeting, through what is called a confirmatory bylaw. I have a draft of that here for our consideration. Reads as follows, that bylaw number 114-2021, being a bylaw to confirm generally previous actions of the council of the municipality of North Perth, be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed, and the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Can I call on Councillor Rothwell to be our mover for this?
Yes, I'll move that.
Thank you. Councillor Seiler, will you serve as our seconder?
I will second that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any discussion or debate on this matter? Are there any opposed? We're not seeing indication of opposition, so that is carried. Thank you very much, Council. And that brings us to the magic moment of adjournment. At this hour, we've had a good long meeting. We've completed the deliberation and taken action on the business that has come before us that we believed was prudent. I have a motion to adjourn, which reads as follows. That the council meeting adjourns at 10:34 p.m. to meet again for council business on Monday, November 1st, 2021 at 7 p.m. Can I call on Councillor Johnston to be our mover for that?
Yes, I would move that.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Andreessen, will you serve as our seconder?
So I'll second that motion.
Thank you. That's not debatable. Are there any opposed? Seeing none, that motion is carried. This meeting is therefore adjourned. This council will meet again, same channel, same technology, 7 o'clock next Monday evening. Until then, have a great Halloween weekend with family. I hope that Everett really enjoys trick-or-treating, Neil, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Good week, folks.